Sorry, Daniel Skinner with the super chat. Hey, Daniel Skinner, with the box office bonds of Shazam and Flash, is it almost guaranteed that Aquaman 2 also flops, or can China and save Amber Turd? Hashtag I stand with Johnny Depp. Aquaman itself feels like a little bit of an anomaly in that that is the highest grossing DC movie of all time, which no one expected that. And every time you say it, most people are like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? It's not The Dark Knight. It's not The Dark Knight Rises. It's not any of these other things. Like, no, the highest grossing DC movie of all time is Aquaman. No one's favorite comic book movie. But for like, it was fun. It played well globally. And that's why it did well, that it got China's box office. And therefore, it did fantastic globally, and it did really good here in the U.S. too. And so then it made way more money than people realized. It's a sequel that feels 2 or 3 years too late. And when you combine that with negative headlines of, I don't know what percentage of people were like associate Amber Hurd and the Johnny Depp, all of that with Aquaman 2. There's a loud group of people on the internet that do. I don't know that my mom, if you want your movie to make $1 billion, you need my mom to go see your film. My mom doesn't know who Amber Hurd is. She doesn't know what she did on Johnny Depp's bed. Like, she doesn't know any of that. So I don't know what percentage that is. Like, bad headlines don't help, and it creates bad buzz. Absolutely. But I think just the fact that the movie is too late, and that they announced, by the time this movie comes out, a year before they announced, hey, we're doing something different. And it just feels like it lets the air out of the balloon for the remaining DCEU films. And they just feel like these lingering things that are still out there. And they weren't shot. They weren't written. They weren't developed to end the DCEU. That happened late in the game. And so I think that's ultimately what will kind of doom its box office, that it just feels like the air's been let out of the balloon. Griffin, did you have any thoughts on how well you think Aquaman 2 might do?
I mean, like, I think it'll definitely, it's not going to make the same amount of money the first Aquaman made, just because the DC brand isn't in a good place. I don't know how many people, like you said, like seeing Aquaman for the first time, that's exciting, but no one really considers that the best DCEU film. So how many people really care about the sequel? So it's yeah, I don't know. And I mean, if you listen to some of the test screening reports, it's not a really good movie. So it's yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's going to make $1 billion, but I don't think it has anything to do with Amber Hurd or any of that stuff. I mean, she's barely in the movie. Like, I mean, there has been like reported that she has like maybe 15 minutes of screen time. So like, I don't know.
How about you, Richard? How do you do you think it's going to do compared to the first movie, and what do you think is the ultimate factor in that?
Well, it definitely ain't going to make $1 billion. I think we can all pretty definitively agree that it's not going to make $1 billion. And it still shocks me that Aquaman is the top grossing DC movie, like you were saying. But no, like you were saying, it's going to come out 5 years after the first movie came out. And sometimes that works for sequels, but I don't think it's going to in this case, just because of, like you said, everything that's going on in the DC landscape, the reboot. I don't know if necessarily the Amber Hurd stuff is going to doom the movie on its own, but in combination with everything else going on with DC, I don't think it's going to help at all. I mean,
it's that compounding effect of if people were excited about DC, no one would, like, the Amber Hurd stuff, I don't think would have too much of an effect. But when they're not as excited and it's been too long, the novelty's gone, and then there's also just kind of like a little bit of that murmur on the internet, well, loud voices on the internet, like, I'm boycotting this film. You add them all up, and it's not good.
Exactly. It doesn't paint a good picture for this movie. I could see it probably doing like maybe what, 500 to 700 million or so, just because of the DC brand and Jason Momoa. And, people are going to go out to see Jason Momoa. I will give audiences that. But other than that, I don't know how much this movie's got working for it.